Okay, so this is me in my kitchen, and I was going to show how I make my sourdough bread. I start with my starter, and if you don't know how to make a starter, don't have a starter, I can show you how I did that too. This is what I have. You can hear my dehydrator, food dehydrator going in the background. This is what I have that I use. I use my electric scale. I use a spoon and a spatula. I have the recipe. I use glass because I've read that the metals react with the acids, I think, in the starter, and so I use glass when I work. And I have some water and salt and flour. And this is my starter. You can see the bubbles in there. That is indicative that the starter is working really well. You can see that it's got those big bubbles in there. And now I will open it. Okay, so my starter it's just in a mason jar. It has a ring. I have a, I don't even know what you call it. It's a silicone gasket that I bought on Amazon, and it has like a burper in it, and I've used this to make sauerkraut. But I also use it for my starter, and if you look in, you can see the big bubbles. It's not super frothy, but it's got big bubbles in there that show you that the wild yeasts are active. So I'm going to put my glass bowl on my scale and turn my scale on. And you want to make sure that it reads 0, and I'm going to put 150 grams. So I have it in grams, and it's zeroed out. I'm going to put 150 grams of starter into the bowl, and I just pour it from my 150 grams. Pour it from my container of starter in. A little bit over, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. And then I'm going to add water, and I need to add 285 grams. So I need to set that down. I need to zeroed my scale, and I need to add 285 grams of water. And I go by weight and not by volume. So 285 grams. I have enough water in my measuring cup. 285. Might not have enough water in my measuring cup. Might have to go get more water. Yep, didn't quite have enough water. Okay, 285 grams, and I try to use room temperature water because it doesn't startle the yeast as much. Is what I've read. This is only like my 4th loaf. A little bit extra, but that's okay because I had a little bit extra starter. Then I'm going to need to zero it again. It's kind of gross right now. But I'm going to need to zero it again and add 500 grams of flour. The recipe I have says organic bread flour, but I'm just using all-purpose. And as some of you know, flour can sometimes be one of those things that's tricky to measure. You're supposed to make sure there's plenty of air in it when you measure it by cups, which is why 500 grams is really the way to go. It works out to about 4 cups, but 500 grams. 500 grams. Almost there. Not a big deal. And then you want 9 grams of salt, and I use sea salt with no iodine in it. It says to use sea salt. I don't know if it makes a difference, but because I had sea salt with no iodine, that is what I've used every time I've made this kind of bread. So hopefully, I need to zero and 9 grams of salt, and I'm just sprinkling it from my hand in there. 9 grams of salt. Then I need to take my spoon and stir it up. All right, and then I just use my hand and I mix it in with my hand a little bit. I don't like to do too much. I'm just trying to incorporate, all of the flour and water and starter all together. And it's going to look pretty messy. The recipe that I have says that if it's too dry, you can add a little more water. If it's too wet, you can add a little more flour. I kind of like this recipe because it's very forgiving. It does take a long time though. So there we go, we have it pretty much looking like a loose mess of dough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it and I'm going to let it sit for 30 minutes. So it's covered and with some plastic wrap, and I spray the plastic wrap with oil, a little bit of oil, just to keep, if the dough rises a lot, to keep it from sticking to the plastic wrap. It won't on this first rise, and it doesn't on the second rise usually, but when you let it sit overnight, it needs to be oiled, and I just use the same wrap. So. Okay, so after letting it sit for half an hour, you're going to knead it again for about a minute, and then it should smooth out. It still has a lot of bits in the bowl, and it's still kind of filled with parts that need to be incorporated. So you're going to knead it, and by kneading it, I mean and I'm doing this with one hand, you're going to kind of stretch it, fold it, and squish it. So you kind of stretch it, fold it, and squish it. So by folding it and squishing it like that and doing it from different sides each time, it helps to make sure that all the flour and yeast and salt and stuff is all mixed in really, really good, and it should hold together pretty well. It will be a little sticky. You could add a little flour to it, but you don't really need to. So I'm going to knead it up and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Okay, so now you can see that it's much smoother. I still have a little bit of a ridge in it here, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it in the bowl now overnight for 8 hours, and we will see about cooking it off, and it will become a loaf of bread at the end of that time. Okay, so it's been 8 hours, and now it's dark outside, but I'm going to bake it anyway. It has fluffed up quite a bit. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to form it into a ball and let it sit for half an hour and then bake it off. So before I take it out, I'm going to put a little flour on some parchment paper in a cookie sheet. And the reason I do that is because the flour will help prevent it from sticking, and because of the way I bake it in a cast iron Dutch oven, the parchment paper keeps it from sticking inside the container. I've set my oven to 475 degrees to heat the container, the Dutch oven, and then I will put it in the oven after it is done rising a little bit. But first I'm going to take it out and put it on the paper, and then I'm going to form it into a ball. And I don't know if you can see that, but that is looking lovely. All those natural yeasts have done their job inside the bread and have given out, eaten up the proteins in the flour and burped and farted out all the carbon dioxide that it can create, and it makes these lovely bubbles inside the dough. So I'm going to want to turn it out very carefully so that it doesn't pop too many of the bubbles. So it sort of looks like a big fat blob, but you can see right there one of the carbon dioxide bubbles that was formed, and there are a couple right there as well, just under what will become the crust of the bread when it is done. Now I need to cover it in oiled crap and let it sit for 30 minutes, no